they came up with a variety of gestures they could use. Some of them, like this one for instance, have taken on other meanings in other cultures. So apotropaic gestures are designed to turn away evil, in the hopes that it's not too late, Brian. The name of this poem, which is a double dactyl, is Backup Plan. Higgledy-piggledy, innocent Margaret, finding Faust's blandishments hard to deter, told Mephistopheles, apotropaically, "Get thee behind me." Well, if you prefer. This is for you, Ryan.
Our next speaker, most of you know probably from the big screen, or the little screen actually, TV. He's a popular TV guy around Marshall. He's best known on the TV show on which the TV show that he appears on. He's best known as the guy who does the ethnic jokes and the what do you call it when you throw your voice? Ventriloquism, he does. A lot of times, we did once a show where we did all non sequiturs, where, you know, the challenge was somebody would say something, you were to reply, but you had to reply in such a way that what you said had nothing to do with what they said. It was very difficult to do, but it was easy for Lupe, because he's been doing it his whole life. We were struggling with it, and he was just like, without breaking a sweat, it just, yeah, Favre's elbow is pretty bad.
Middle Earth does.
Yeah. So he also sits on the throne of the universe. Not many people know that. But today is his birthday. It is Lupe's birthday. Here he is, Lupe.
What the fuck did you say when Jesus Christ?
I said, ooh.
No, I'm saying your speech. You know, Ben asked me to sit on the table of honor, and I was like, yeah, sure. I got nothing better to do. I want to write some, you know, excuse me, some clever stuff about Brian. I don't want to work on my novel. I don't want to grade student papers. Give me something else to do. Letters of recommendation. Melissa's not up here, but, you know. Brian, well, you know, what can be said? And I wrote some stuff, and I hate following sort of a pattern, but it took me a whole 5 minutes, so I guess I could try. You know, how can you define Brian? It's like hemorrhoids. What can you say about hemorrhoids? I mean, how can one describe them? One can't, because hemorrhoids are unique in their function and subjective to the rectum that holds them. Well, it depends what your view of hemorrhoids. And Ryan is unique in his functions. And, you know, back to Ben, speaking of Ben, go ahead, Ben, take a voice. Sorry. Just kidding. And Joe Wenderoth, I mean, to be in such presence of brilliance, you know, a downwind, you know,
Genius.
to quote Eleni at the last get-together, you know, she said, "Joe, I love you. You are like a Greek fart." What an honor. Well, if you do watch the roast, I mean, you do have TV, I mean, there are other things on besides Sopranos. But this is how roasts go. If you watch the Friars roast, I mean, it's open game. We get to Ryan eventually. And Tim Bain, I mean, Jesus Christ, I mean, the guy's taught me like 5 more uses for the word fuck. And I thought, you know, growing up where I did, that I knew every use for the word. Excuse me, children should be listening to that, but I'm waiting for him to move on to Meat Puppet. And Vicey's not here, and I don't understand that, you know. Him with his, you know, his Polish demeanor, I'm so brilliant, I can cut everybody down. But since he's not here, I mean, I'll just leave with the proverb. My great old uncle, you know, said he's about as useful as a two-pecker goat. And I never understood either one of them, Vicey or mine. But we're here to roast Ryan. And Ryan, when I first met him, he said, you know, I really like you a lot, and as long as you're here, I'm going to be here. And I said, well, Ryan, I'm not sharing my retirement with you. You know, Ryan, we find that seriously funny. You know, and the first time I met him, we sort of had a little bit of a run-in, and, you know, it took me a while to get him to stop saying, hey, sailor, and love you long time. We became fast friends, you know. What isn't to love about this, you know, the relationship between an older Latino male and a young, white, skinny boy, you know? You just have to fill it in the rest. And I wrote sort of a little bad poem at the end, and it says, you know, it's dedicated to Ryan, who's the dedicated student, we his peers and colleagues. Glass of beer, a shot of whatever is good at the time. Those long discussions of Spivak, long into the early morn, diversity to Ryan is by porn. Humor at oneself is precious and gold. If you don't get some lovin' soon, that poison mushroom, called his Willie, will turn to mold. It was lame. That's all I
One thing you could say about Ryan, who I often think of this, it's like an Irish thing, which says, every man is a captain in a calm sea. See what I'm saying? But I've never really been in a stormy sea with Ryan, so I guess we really can't tell whether he's a captain or not. But, you know, this is a little story. I think there's some residue of ube up here. In the SSU Pantheon, Ryan Moore is a god unlike any other. He's a roving, itinerant god, a god of no place and of every place. At the same time, he demands full acknowledgement wherever he passes through. He must have his position, his prestige. And since he was born at SSU, he's particularly concerned to confirm his following there. He enters the school as a person arriving from afar, a strange stranger. He returns to SSU, his birthplace, expecting to be welcomed and accepted, to have a kind of official headquarters there. Both itinerant and established at once, among the SSU gods he represents, as Professor Tim Bain has put it, the figure of the other, of what is different, unsettling, disconcerting, anomic. I'm not sure what that means. It's Tim Bain. He is also, as my colleague Dave Caskey has written, an epidemic god. Like a contagious disease, when he erupts in a place that has had little exposure to him, he makes quick inroads and his worship spreads like a flood. Suddenly, otherness, the other than oneself, asserts its presence in the most familiar places, an epidemic disease. Both itinerant and settled, he is a god close to men. His connection with them is different in nature from the sort that generally prevails. in SSU, a bond far more intimate, more personalized, closer. Ryan Moore establishes a kind of direct, face-to-face relationship with his disciples. He looks deep into the disciples' eyes, and the latter, in turn, fastens his hypnotized gaze on the face, the mask of Ryan. And yet, even with this closeness between him and men, he may be the God most remote from humans, the most inaccessible and mysterious, the one who cannot be apprehended, cannot be assigned to a slot. I said slot. One might, for instance, say of Jennifer Jeffers that she is the goddess of love, of Lorna Luke that she is the goddess of war and of knowledge, of Pete Young that he is an artisan, a blacksmith. But Ryan Moore cannot be put in a pigeonhole. He's simultaneously in none and in all of them, present and absent at once, mostly absent. The stories about him take on a somewhat special meaning when we consider the tension between vagabondage, roving, the circumstance of being always on the road, passing through, a traveler, and the circumstance of wanting a home of one's own, where one is properly settled, where one is more than accepted, chosen. Our next reader is a man who, in the pantheon of SSU gods, is like all the others. Exactly. Ben Butler.
Thank you, Joe. Joe bothers me. He's been going around for a long time now telling people that he and I are lovers. I have to say, honestly, that Joe Wenderoth is not my lover. I only have sex with men. I printed something off the internet I thought you'd all find interesting. This is a review of his work I found on Amazon.com. He wrote a book called Letters to Wendy's that you're probably all familiar with. Where the hell, this isn't the right one. I hope I still have it. Shit. Oh yeah, no, fuck you. What happened to it? I must have printed off the wrong stuff. I'll find it. I will surely find it. Well, while I'm looking for it, Lupe told me that I couldn't say anything about other people's genitals while I was up here, because I was asking him earlier, what are the parameters of tonight's event? And he said, you can say anything you want, you just can't describe other people's genitals. So I thought that I would just in general say that some people have talking genitals. Jeff Kolnick's cock, for instance, always says lachanim. And, well, every time I'm done with Elaine, her vagina always says indaxi, and I always say you're welcome. That's what my cock says. I'm sorry, I got that. Joe Wenderoth. Shocking, just shocking, says a reader from Princeton, New Jersey on December 1st, 2001. He gives Letters to Wendy's 2 stars out of 5. What surprises me is the amount of attention this book has received. It's simply not any good. There is no narrative whatsoever in it. The pieces simply line up with one-liner after one-liner. Perhaps most disturbing about the book is the glowing review it received from poet John D'Agata in a magazine recently. He's an otherwise very smart guy, so I don't know what's up with that. I just don't think this book is worth the hoopla. If you've been recommended this book, I suggest you try Wenderoth's first book, which is a true biggie, or Artistic Brilliance. This one's just clever. And Do any of you remember, I don't know if you read Joe's reading last year, I probably get this wrong, Joe. There's a passage from Letters to Wendy's where he says that he goes into the bathroom and dips his cock and balls into a biggie. So now I know what he's been doing in the men's room all this time with Bane. Let's see. Lupe, when I first met Lupe, I thought he was gay. And I had him for Writer's Workshop, and he said, "Hey Ben, come over to my office and show me your stuff." And so I went over there, and I was thinking to myself sitting in there, is it usual for a professor to have